It's Friday, May 1st, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. Gaming has been an increasingly important part of life, and both Sony and Microsoft were to be releasing new consoles this year. We'll update you on some news from the Xbox front. Plus, we'll be joined by the creator of Parks and Recreation, King of the Hill, The Office, and more, Greg Daniels, to talk about his new show Upward, premiering today on Amazon Prime. And if that's not enough for you, how about this guest, the co-founder of Blink-182, Angels and Airwaves, and the CEO of To the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge. We're going to be talking about UFOs. Also, it's Friday, which means it's time for another edition of Tech Briefs, where we'll be joined by Ken Young, the technology editor for Flipboard, to recap some of the biggest topics in tech this week. Let's get it started. All that and more here on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. And thanks for joining us. It is May 1st. That's crazy to say that it's been going this long, that we've been in quarantine. Haircuts are needed. It doesn't matter, though. Tech goes on, and let's do this. Let's talk about some trending tech headlines right now to bring you up to date with what's going on. First off with this, as we're all getting things delivered to ourselves, which is certainly a big booming economy right now between Amazon and everybody else, Walmart is now launching something of their own with a 2-hour express delivery. So this isn't new for them having deliveries. They have had this for a while, but not this express part. So they have had something called Delivery Unlimited, which is very similar to Amazon Prime, where you can sign up. It's about the same price, actually. $98 annually, $12.95 a month is what it usually is, where you can have items delivered. But to compete with Amazon and Instacart and all these other organizations and platforms, Walmart is now launching a 2-hour delivery service if you're within range of any one of their 2,000 stores. So probably a good chance you are within range of one. With the details of it, you'll need to have at least $30 worth of items in your shopping cart. Also, if you don't have their already Delivery Unlimited service, it will cost extra on top of the delivery. So it's not like it's a free thing, but it is something else to compete there with Amazon. And I think probably this is a sign of what we're going to be seeing with a lot of companies launching different kinds of delivery services as everybody adapts to what's going on. That's one of the key things, right, is seeing all these companies adapt and how they're catering to the new way that we're shopping online. But an interesting move there by Walmart. So a 2-hour express delivery now being launched. You can take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here, talking about the changing way that things are happening. Let's talk about events. Events are canceled, right? In-person events are canceled, but online events are continuing on, and that's what's happening with the Game Developers Conference. This is a big, big conference when it comes to gaming. This is where usually a lot of stuff is announced. They had already pushed it back once from March, I believe it was originally, and then they pushed it into June, said they were going to do it live this summer, hoping that things would change, but it's looking much more likely that events won't be going on. So now it is going to be all online, August 4th through the 6th. So it's going to be a 3-day event, but completely online. So that's another example of the way things are changing up. And I think we're going to see a lot of companies and events going this way. How they pull it off, that's what's going to be kind of interesting. They did already do a little bit of an online thing for the Game Developers Conference, just a little bit of announcements, but this is going to be their big one. So August 4th to 6th. Again, we'll have to see if this is what other events and conferences that were previously scheduled are going to be doing, if they go online or if they just push back or if they cancel altogether. So with that one, we also come to the Fortnite event, which, if you remember last year, Fortnite's World Cup was huge. This was the first one that they did. I believe it was the first one that they did. But last year's had $30 million in prize money. It had the champion getting $3 million. It was a really, really big event. Giant live in-person stadium performance of esports, really bringing esports into that realm of a live event that you would attend. And naturally, this has a setback for that. So they have actually just decided to cancel it. So they are not going to be doing it in 2020. They're going to be moving straight to 2021, which for Fortnite, I do think that's kind of definitely an interesting move on their part, since it is esports, it's online gaming. You would think that would be something that they could be able to do online, but they're not going to. They said, however, there will be a lot of other tournaments that will be going on, just not the Fortnite World Cup. That won't be happening. They're moving that to 2021 and hoping to return them, but just some ideas on events. Again, you can read more of those at digitaltrends.com. Let's continue on here and talk about products, right? When we talk about gaming, there's all kinds of things going on with gaming. A lot more people are gaming, and we're expecting 2 new consoles later this year with the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox Series X. And we have a little bit more information about Xbox. They're going to be holding an event, an online event, naturally, on May 7th, where they're going to be having a live stream showcasing some of the games that will be launching on their new groundbreaking platform. So both Series X and PlayStation 5 expected to be major upgrades. We have found out a lot about the Series X console already from announcements that they had previously, so we've definitely seen what it looks like, but we haven't actually seen a lot of the gameplay, and that's what we're going to be getting here with this event. So they said that they'll be having this again on May 7th. They also said that they're going to be doing some more in June. They did also speak to possible delays. So as of right now, the Xbox CEO Phil Spencer said that he believes that the console is going to be on time, which is around Thanksgiving is the general. There's no actual day, but around Thanksgiving of this year. So he doesn't think, as of right now, there's going to be delays in production, which is pretty big. There's delays in production for a number of things. However, they did say some of the games could be delayed. So some of the games that they had planned to have out then, because all of them are working from home too, that could be delayed in part. But so far, pretty good news, I guess, if we're expecting that Series X to hopefully come out on time. So some definite updates there when it comes to the Xbox. All right, continuing on here with trending news topics. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that today is National Space Day. Yes, National Space Day. You know I love talking about space. So what is National Space Day, you could be wondering at home? Let me tell you. So National Space Day dedicates the first Friday in May to the extraordinary achievements, benefits, and opportunities in the exploration and use of space. And certainly right now is a big time when it comes to that, because there is a lot happening when it comes to space exploration with the advancements of commercial space endeavors. And today, actually, we're kind of leading up to May 27th. So this month, this is Space Day, but this month is big. On May 27th, NASA is going to be launching a crew from U.S. soil for the first time in a decade using a private company, and that is SpaceX, with the Demo 2 launch. The naming isn't the greatest, but it's called Demo 2. That is what the actual name of it is. So Demo 2 will send NASA astronauts into space, like I said, from U.S. soil for the first time in over a decade, using, for the first time, a private space company. So that's a pretty fascinating thing. It's a pretty big event, and they are planning for that to go forward on May 27th. You know, days can always change a little bit, but they expect that to happen. They're also going to be launching today. They've got a series of different conferences they're going to be showcasing about the mission and introducing the astronauts. So really interesting stuff to take a look at if you want to follow along with National Space Day. And with that, NASA also made another announcement about how they're going to get to the moon. Now, this is part of Project Artemis. This is the plan to go to the moon, and they now have a competition going on, which is really fun as far as I'm concerned, of private companies to build a moon lander. So you've got SpaceX, you've got Blue Origin, and then you have another company called Dynetics. Dynetics mostly works with the Department of Defense and military contracts, but they're also in it. So the goal is for these 3 organizations will get to compete to create the lander that is going to bring, ostensibly, people back to the moon. And the goal is by 2024. Again, those dates can kind of shift a little bit just because of the fact of we don't really know what's going on. Everybody's working from home and all of that. But there's $1 billion in awarded contracts that are going to be completed in this 10-month period. So this is what's going to be going on. These 3 different companies are competing. They've all got different ideas. There's some great visuals and videos that they have put up. And so there you see the 3 different ones and 3 different versions. It's really exciting. So when you talk about space, this is definitely a fun day to celebrate that. So you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right, the product of the day today. Now, we're all at home. We're all cooking a little bit more, and I don't know how many times I've seen people posting about wanting to make bread. So here's what we've got. This is the Breville Custom Loaf Bread Maker. So this is what we've got. It's from Breville. Now, this is a top-of-the-line bread maker. So let me tell you, it's got 13 automatic settings with 3 crust color options. You could even color your crust. It's got 9 custom settings to store your personal preferences. It's got 46 recipes included. It's got a pause function for hand-shaping decorative crusts. If you really want to go that route, you really want to make those decorative crusts, well, you've got a pause function for it now. It's also got a knead phase where it kneads it very perfectly. It's got, let's see, yeah, a lot of different recipes that you can choose from. Honestly, this thing's pretty cool. So this is the product of the day that we want to showcase here. Again, the Breville Custom Loaf Bread Maker. So look at that delicious bread. You could be doing that right now at home if you had this custom bread maker. So there is the deal. If you follow that link that's just below me, type that in, go there, you can take advantage of the deal, and it actually is a really good deal right now. Normally these things are $450. Right now it's on sale for $300, so $150 off. You can go there to that link and take advantage of the product of the day. So there it is for you. All right, we've got a lot coming up here on this show. I did mention that it's National Space Day. Well, we're going to have Tom DeLonge on the show. Yes, Tom DeLonge, to talk about those UFO videos and so much more. He's going to be coming up. We've got Greg Daniels, the creator of Parks and Rec and the new show Upload, who's going to be on here on the show too. But coming up next, we're going to be talking about actually a streaming event that's going to be going on. A bunch of Twitch streamers are getting together to stream for charity to help with COVID-19. We're going to be talking to Fatality and one of their partners is coming up next. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler again. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. And let me tell you about this. On Saturday, May 2nd, a bunch of amazing Twitch streamers are getting together to stream online for COVID-19 relief, and it's called Stream for Humanity. Right now, we are joined by the CEO of Kafeli, Mark Antaparanajak, and esports legend Fatality to tell us more about it. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. To start off, one question we always like to ask everybody. Let's see, Mark, let's go to you first. How are you holding up during quarantine?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm actually enjoying a lot of time with my girls and getting a lot more work done than I would have ever imagined. So everything's good.
That's good. Yeah, I think we're all kind of adjusting in our own way. And Fatality, so nice to have you on here as well. I want to talk to you about Stream for Humanity. Can you talk about this event and how this came together? What was the inspiration for it?
Actually, Mark reached out to me, this week, and we've done a lot of cool things together in the past with esports, and obviously, if I find an opportunity to give back and whatnot, I'm always down for it. And Mark's kind of like spearheading this and invited me along for the ride.
Nice. Well, Mark, for you, from your side of things, what brought this all together, and what's all involved in it for everybody to know?
Yeah, Jonathan and I have both got big hearts for giving and our background in gaming and whatnot. And I was talking with the folks at Mercy Corps earlier this year, and we do a lot of pro bono work in general. And we wanted to just get them in touch with the gaming community more. And that's something that they had a big goal to do that as well. And they had been at TwitchCon last year and done some outreach to streamers, and they really wanted to ramp that up. And well, with the COVID crisis, it was kind of time to do that, right? So that's how we started jumping into this. But we also are helping some other open source and nonprofit projects during the COVID relief time, and have launched a website, Give for the Win, Give FTW, to list all of the different COVID-19 causes that we're trying to connect gamers with right now.
Well, Jonathan, let's talk to you too about the gamers. There's a lot of top streamers that are coming together for this. What does this say about the gaming community and the ability to come together during a time like this?
Well, I think it just shows the really the positive sides of esports and gaming, and this is something that we have the luxury of kind of like being that powerhouse and to make this happen. So you look at over the last year or so. There's been some really remarkable people that have raised a ton of money for esports. Look at like a streamer like Dr. Lupo. This guy's raised I think millions of dollars for his charitable side of his business and so forth. So it's just amazing to see all these gamers come together and support each other. And obviously, since we all have to stay home, live streaming is something that we do from home anyways. So it's kind of a perfect scenario for us to give back and use some of our time for good.
Can you tell us about what you're going to be streaming tomorrow, or what games can we get to see?
Actually, I've been playing Riot's new game, Valorant. And it's a game of 5-on-5 tactical shooter, and I've been playing that a lot recently. It's kind of a throwback to Counter-Strike back in the old days, if you played Counter-Strike. But it's just it's a fun game to play with my friends and so forth. And actually, recently I just won a $25,000 COVID-19 relief tournament last week with the Red Cross and so forth. So I'm looking forward to spending some of that money to give back to some charities here local in Las Vegas.
That's great. Let's talk about a couple of other things too. I was wondering about Ready Up. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what that is?
Yeah, my big initiative in esports and gaming is to help make it easier for people to be connected, find, follow, and join in tournaments. So if you get a chance, check out readyup.com. But we're an event platform working with businesses to help them engage with their audience to fuel their vibrant gaming communities. So we believe that it should be easier for people to find, follow, and join in tournaments and events, and just be more connected. So my big passion for esports and gaming is to make it easier for the masses to get into it.
Mark, something I wanted to ask you too, and that's great. So that sounds so great that people can get involved. Mark, I wanted to ask you something we ask a lot of people is, what is the one piece of tech that you can't live without?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking through what I'd say for that, because there's so much tech in my life, but I think it's going to be an equal tie between headphones, because I'm a total audiophile, and cameras. I love cameras. I have a ton of cameras, and I need a camera everywhere I go.
Yeah, cameras and headphones, both very important right now, for sure. Well, for everybody out there, too, who wants to join in this and wants to help and wants to watch everything that's going tomorrow, I want to make sure they know exactly where to go. And Jonathan, Mark, I'm not sure who wants to answer that. Jonathan, maybe you can tell everybody where they can go.
Yeah. So you'll go to
Mercy Corps.
All right.
Go to mercycorps.org, mercycorps.org/stream, and we'll have 12 streamers streaming throughout the course of the day tomorrow to raise money for Mercy Corps. And then if you miss that stream for whatever reason, or that event, we'll be listing more at Give for the Win. So yeah, hopefully people tune in. We're going to try to raise at least $10,000. That's the goal, and we'll see how we do.
Nice. Well, thank you, both of you, for joining us here on Digital Trends Live to talk about this and get the word out about it. And thank you for doing what you're doing, too, to help people out. That's, clearly the most important thing right now is helping out with relief for this. And you're both doing a great job with that. So everybody can follow along to that link, tune in tomorrow, enjoy the fun competition, and, help out charity at the same time. That's kind of a win-win for everybody. And thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live today.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you
Thanks for having us.
All right, so fantastic. It's always great seeing people come together to help out during this time and seeing that go on. Coming up next, let me tell you, we're going to be joined by Greg Daniels. So Greg Daniels is the creator and executive producer of the new series called Upload, which is on Amazon Prime. It's fantastic, but also created a little show called Parks and Recreation, King of the Hill, The Office. Maybe you've heard of those shows too. So he's going to be joining us next. Really excited to have him on here. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, whatever platform you are watching on. And let me just say this. Our next guest has probably created more of the shows that we binge than anyone else on the planet. Created, written, developed The Office, Parks and Rec, The Simpsons, King of the Hill. He's a mastermind of comedy. His new series, Upload, is debuting on Amazon Prime today with a very special premiere event that's going to be live streaming on Twitter. Joining us right now, we have Greg Daniels. Greg, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me. I am this backdrop here.
Something we're at
our event for our event later. This is the digital hotel lobby for the Upload concept.
I knew I recognized it actually because I was just watching the first episode this morning. I thought that looked familiar. Something that we're asking everybody too, just as we're all dealing with this, working from home. How are you holding up during quarantine? What's your experience been like so far?
It's different every day, right? It's like mentally, there's some ups and downs. It's nice I have all my family together, which is great. And my daughter got some chicks. So we have a box of baby chickens. So in case things get really bad, we might have eggs in a couple of months.
Nice. You got to be prepared. Well,
yeah.
Talking about that and being prepared, let's talk about Upload. And I want to let everybody know too. So I think it's phenomenal so far. But the description here is that it takes place in the near future where people can be uploaded into a virtual afterlife of their choice. But you came up with this concept 30 years ago while writing for SNL. What was it that inspired you to think about a digital afterlife back then?
Well, the thing that inspired me were ads for CD players, and they were doing a big thing about it's digital sound quality versus analog, and I'm trying to think of sketch ideas, so I'm exaggerating. I'm like, well, what would be the craziest thing that could be digitized? That is, and I figured, well, wait, obviously, if we digitize our own selves, what would happen then? And it occurred to me that you could have a man-made afterlife, that people could program a virtual reality world and upload your consciousness into an avatar, and that would be your entire existence. But it would be kind of at the mercy of the game designers and what kind of companies would do that and stuff. And it was a much darker, sort of richer idea than an SNL sketch, So I always kept it in the back pocket, and whenever I was underemployed, I would kind of bring it out and work on it to try and make it into a book. But then after The Office wrapped, I started turning it into a streaming series. And I think it was really good that I waited, because all the technology, it was a lot harder to explain. When I originally pitched the idea, I was like, okay, you picture an MRI machine, but it's the best MRI machine ever. And it can record every single, neuron and connection in your brain. And then picture, World of Warcraft, but it's done for pleasure. It's not for killing. And, the pitch in the beginning was very complicated, but by the fact that it took so long, I think people are kind of more aware of the tech and the sci-fi side. And now I can kind of get deeper into the comedy of what would it actually be like. And, do you trust these big tech companies to give you the experience that you want? And is it a little creepy that it's all for pay and it's not really very fair? And, so there's a lot of interesting things that it's easier to write about when you don't have to explain all the tech in such detail.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because the tech that's in it, it's right around the corner. A lot of what's in there, what you showcase in the series. I did want to ask you one question, because something that I think just even in the first episode that stands out to me is there's autonomous vehicles, and then there's 3D printed food, which both of those are not that far away. For you personally, if you had to choose between one of those to have right now, an autonomous car or 3D printed food, which one would it be?
Well, right now I'm not driving anywhere, so I'd 100% go with the 3D printed food. But I think when this horrible thing is over, I probably would take the car, because it would free up. I live in Los Angeles, and to be able to just sit in a car and watch a movie on the inside of the windshield instead of drive would be pretty fun, I think. I did a lot of research at the Consumer Electronics shows, of the last few years, and all of the technology except the upload technology. I think that there is like a prototype, or it might be coming right around the bend. So like there's a lot of drones, there's a lot of unusual drone use, and some of the jokes didn't get in to the show. Like I have ad campaigns in the subway scene for all of the different new technologies, and one of my favorites is a drone dog walking service, and it says, "Now you can sit and stay." And there's just a picture of a drone walking like dogs down the street. But it's, most of it is I'm attempting to do stuff that I think will happen. There's also like a one night stand scene.
Yeah, well, there was
that
actually
had to cut. Yeah, I was going to say there's a scene where people 3D print clothes too. So like if you sleep over at somebody's house and you want a fresh shirt, you know, you can print one off their printer.
Yeah, I mean, it's all so close. There actually was a video of somebody walking their dog with a drone that did come out a couple of weeks ago. So you already guessed that ahead of the time too, I think. So, yeah,
so
there's a link out there.
Well, that's one of the weird things about doing a show set in the near future.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that's one of the weird things about doing a show.
That it's all about here.
Yeah, and also the longer you wait, the more things start to happen that you were making a joke about. Like for instance, in the show, in the pilot, which I shot 2 years ago or more, 2.5 years ago, there's a joke about one of the characters having vape lung, and I was making that up at the time. And you know, at the time, vaping was supposed to be the safe alternative to smoking. But I was always like, well, it doesn't sound that good to me. So I just made up that this guy had vape lung, and I thought it was going to be like a, you know, just a joke about the future. And then, you know, like a year later, it comes out that there is a thing called vape lung. So that's happening a bunch of times. And then, you know, there's yeah.
I was going to say, you're like the Nostradamus here, predicting tech ahead of its time. Since you have been able to so accurately guess a lot of this stuff, what do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years? What's something that you think is going to come to fruition?
Well, you know, it seems to me like there's going to be a time of not that, you know, you shouldn't turn to me because I'm trying to think of stuff to joke about it, not to, you know, predict it. But I mean, I do think that it's going to be kind of weird in society to have a lot of jobs going into AI. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of talk about, you know, how easy it might be to transition people. Like everybody should learn to be a coder, but I don't think everybody temperamentally wants to be a coder. So, you know, it'll probably be like a weird transition time where people are going to have to figure out new jobs to replace a lot of jobs, which, you know, they don't lead with when they're bringing the new technology. The thing that I'm most scared about is there's this thing like kind of mind reading technology, you know, that they're working on now, and it's being presented as this benefit for paralyzed people because the device will read your intentions and then they'll have your robotic arm, you know, do whatever it's supposed to do. But it seems really like that'll be used to interrogate people. It just sounds like not something I'm excited to have happen.
Yeah, it does feel
funny,
like some
right?
of that stuff is, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's a comedy though, folks. Tune in. It's a big comedy though. It's not going to be all about that.
It is. It's really funny. Yeah. I mean, there's, you know, it's great. Something I want to talk about too, just to ask you also, you have the premiere event, since obviously we can't have in-person events. Everything's virtual right now, which does actually almost work perfectly for upload. But
it's perfect, right?
For this
all
event
the
later on
glitches.
today, we're going to have the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, all the little glitches. Like
yes, exactly.
You know, I'm just anticipating that any glitch that happens is going to just be, you know, perfect for telling the story, because it's, you know, that happens to the characters once they're uploaded and they're in this, you know, environment behind me. You know, at various times, little glitches happen because it isn't perfect, and the bugs are, you know, part of we try and get comedy off some of the bugs, the bugginess of it all.
And you do wonderfully too.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
I mean, and even now, you know, we're having a delay in between each other. But Greg, I want to say,
well, at least we're doing
so
it.
much. You know, this is perfect for advertising upload too.
Yeah, at least we're doing it, right? I think that's one of the benefits and the positives of the upload technology is it's keeping us connected. And that's why, the characters are so in favor of it, the ones that are, because it's allowing them to stay connected, with the people they love, which is, I think, the promise of it. So if we ever do get upload, you can kind of sign me up for it. So.
Well, it's incredibly hilarious and perfectly timed right now for this release. And you've got tech involved too, which is just covers all the bases for me. And I know people are going to love it. And they can tune in. Today it's debuting on Amazon Prime today, but also the
right
event
now.
on
It's
Twitter
actually
later
up.
on today.
Yeah, it's up right now, so you can tune in. And I do think your audience would be the perfect audience for this show. And I hope people like it. And it's a good distraction for these kind of crazy times we're in.
It's all of those things. And Greg Daniels, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you do. You bring so many people joy and entertainment every day with even what you've done in the past and now with this new show. Really, really appreciate it. And, a big thank you probably from everyone for everything you've done. And go watch Upload. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch this event later today. And thank you so much for being here on Digital Trends Live with us.
Yeah, no, this was fun. Thanks, Greg. I always happy to do anything with another person named Greg. There aren't that many of us, and we got to stick together, especially when it's spelled the way you're spelling it, which is exactly the right way to do it.
I agree so much with that. The 2 G's at the end, that's different. Okay, I'll have to talk to him about that off air. All right, we need to get moving. Coming up next, let me just say this. We are going to be joined by Tom DeLonge. Yes, Tom DeLonge. From To the Stars, because we're going to be talking about those UFO videos that were released, what that means, what's on the horizon for him, and what they're working on now. Very excited to have our next guest as well. Thanks to Greg Daniels. Up next, Tom DeLonge. Stick around back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you very much for joining us. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're at. And you know our next guest from his incredible legacy in rock and music with being one of the co-founders of Blink-182, Angels and Airwaves, but also he is the co-founder and CEO of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. And they previously released videos of UFOs filmed by U.S. Navy pilots. And just this week, according to the Department of Defense, the aerial phenomena observed in the videos remain characterized as unidentified, confirming these videos. That is an incredible accomplishment on its own. Joining us right now, we have Tom DeLonge. Tom, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. One of the things we're asking everybody, and in particular people who are usually out performing and out on the road, is how are you holding up during quarantine?
I'm doing okay. I thank you for asking. I think that I have it better than a lot of people have it because I have a little bit of space here and I got some windows to see, the sky and to see some trees and stuff. I had a few friends that got sick, but they were all okay. One person that got pretty sick was Lou Elizondo, that works for me, that came from the Pentagon, that ran the UFO program for the U.S. government. He got it pretty bad, but he came out of it okay, and he got it early on. And then some other friends of mine, they just go, oh, my legs hurt. Like I went for a run, and that was it. They had no fevers or anything like that. So all in all, we're doing well. My family's healthy, and we're just waiting for these beaches to stay open.
Right. Yeah. That's the most important thing, is being healthy and staying safe. Talking about, though, To the Stars and what an incredible thing this was this week. So you released these videos back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, respectively, these 3 different videos. And now this week with this Department of Defense, the Pentagon basically saying that, this is confirmed. We don't know what these are. When that came through, how did you feel about that? What went through your mind when you received that public confirmation of these?
Well, we had a little bit of traction on these videos a couple years ago when the New York Times confirmed them. And then the Navy came out a handful of months later and said that these are real unidentified aerial phenomena, and that unidentified flying objects are real, and that was a big deal, and that happened about a year ago. And so then now the Department of Defense, which obviously sits higher than the Navy, published the videos and is confirming it and doing the same thing, but on a larger scale. And, a lot of people are reaching out to me saying, oh my God, you feel so vindicated and stuff. And I tend to tell people that, on an ego level, I'm just like, I told you guys, but really the other 99% of me that cares about this subject is more, I have more compassion for people that are just kind of coming into this. They don't know much about it. It's going to be a little scary, a little unnerving for some people. It's going to make a lot of people question their belief systems. It's going to change kind of what you think about, who we are as human beings and the path we're on and where we're going. And those types of things will rock people's world, and there's some good that comes with this subject, but there's also some bad, and so I think, from my point of view, I just want to, keep working really hard with my team at To the Stars to be able to, the company was built as a vehicle to exploit the technology, communicate the stories, and further the study of this, because there's a lot we don't know. And I just want to focus on that and get people through this hump.
Well, looking at this, with these videos, just to kind of, because I want to talk about what it is that you're working on too, but to get just a little bit more of an understanding, do you have theories on the origin of these objects in this video?
Not the origin. I have a lot of, obviously I have a lot of inside knowledge just because of the people I share company with. And I do know a lot about the subject because I've been researching it for decades. I've been brought into a couple different groups of people that are responsible for the subject with the U.S. government. But, to try to guess exactly where they're from when looking at an object like that on a camera, it's too much of a leap, to pretend that you would know who's piloting this thing or where it's exactly from. We're not doing that as a company. As an individual, if I'm having a beer with some friends or something, I would be able to say, well, if these are the things that we think, or that are being talked about in certain circles, but it's not for an interview like this, from the company To the Stars standpoint is much more of what scientifically can we prove? How do we, get our government to create a system that's accountable and goes all the way up to Congress? And how do we gather the data, and how do we put in the national security policy that's necessary for our pilots and other civilians that are having encounters with these things? I think that the big thing that we've done as a company is we've built an artificial intelligence system called the Vault that is a machine learning algorithm that's extremely advanced, and it's going to help us with some of the who, what, where, when, why of this, and give us kind of a scientific methodology of sorts to be able to get to the bottom of some of these questions.
Talking about that with the technology that you're building with AI, do you think that is going to expedite the timeline of finding out? I mean, clearly, I guess, finding out a little bit more about these, but do you anticipate more videos, more evidence being released in a quicker timeline?
Yeah, because, basically when the U.S. government, is doing something that's classified are doing something that's a little bit when they're doing something where no one's noticing what they're doing, they're gonna stick at it. They're not gonna go out and talk about it. That's not their job. Their job is to solve problems, national security problems, or take care of us civilians in various ways. But when you actually can point the finger at something specific, like this video, and the radar data and the pilots and all the testimonies and all the documents or whatever, they're not allowed to lie. It's illegal for them to lie. Now they can skirt the issue if it's classified. They can say no comment, but if they come out and actually lie, that's a federal offense. These guys work for us. So I think now that we have these videos and we're able to bring this out, and To the Stars Academy was heading up all the briefings over on the Hill. We set up the briefings for senators and congressmen and a lot of other places in the government. And now that everyone's learning about this and learning what's been going on, I think that we're in a really good position to see more videos, to see more evidence. To the government now is I don't say the government as a whole. The whole government doesn't work together like some one big beautiful organism. It's not like that. It's like you got to think of it as this multi-trillion-dollar corporation that has all these divisions. You look at Disney. They have Marvel. That's probably a $20-30 billion division of Disney. Now, what Marvel is doing, Disney might not really know everything about, or whatever. So you got to think of the government as,
right.
Different programs and things happening. Now that this, a small group of people knew about this stuff, it's starting to go everywhere. And I think they're running around saying, wow, now we really can't skirt this issue anymore. Now we really must acknowledge it, deal with it. The cat's out of the bag. And you can't put the cat back in the bag with something like this. So I think we're going to see a lot more, and I think it's going to change the world. And I've been saying this for 3 years now, that there's a lot coming, and I really mean it. There's a lot more coming. I can't get into it, but it's going to be a wild ride, and it's going to have profound effects on our society.
Wow. Now I really want to know what it is, but obviously I've got to wait. For you, something else I wanted to ask you too, and this just has to do with space travel in general and the advancements of the space programs, and in particular commercial space travel. It's going to be possible to go up into space soon as a tourist in a much easier fashion. Is that something you would want to do? Do you want to go to space personally?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to go to a submarine. I'm thinking like, you have 1 inch of metal or glass next to death. It seems pretty scary to me. But I think I think that if we were to do, one of the things we're after at To the Stars Academy is advanced propulsion using magnetics and getting into things that are opposite of combustion engines and doing a more divine propulsion system that's works in harmony with the natural system of the earth. And I think once we did something like that and mastered that, it would be a different story to get people into space. Like now on a rocket that can explode going 17,000 miles an hour with all the friction and vibrating, and one little tile comes off on reentry and you burn up. It's just like, that's a lot of risk for a guy like me. But if you master this propulsion, which we think is doable, and this isn't just coming from me, this is coming from one of the top 3 guys at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. This is coming from the physicist that was the head physicist on the UFO program at the Pentagon. This is coming from the guy that ran the UFO program, and all these guys are at To the Stars. They think that we can crack this. And if you crack this propulsion, it essentially pushes out a bubble of space-time around the craft. So you don't have any inertia, you don't have any friction, you don't have any of the issues of reentry where you're burning up. Now, is it easy? No, it's complicated. You're essentially, copying a natural system of something like the sun, or spinning counterclockwise, different electromagnetic fields, and you need extreme voltages, and there's going to be a lot of risk, creating that stuff. But I think once we get to that spot, I think it'll be a much safer play to go into space. And maybe I'll just wait for that, because this is something we can do in the next 10 to 15 years. And people got to think of SpaceX. Elon Musk started SpaceX, and he had rockets and he was going in within about 10 or 11 years, and he stuck with it. And no one thought he can do it. Everyone thought he was crazy. So that's not that far off. So that's what we're asking people to do, is to support that, and we will bring this technology out to the world is what the goal has always been.
I love the idea that that's, science fiction, thinking about something like that, creating a bubble around what you have and being able to use propulsion in that way is now possible as a reality. I know, I want to ask you something else too, just to switch gears here, just for a second, just something that you posted on Twitter. I'm a rock fan. I'm a fan of space, but you mentioned that aerospace and rock music go together and they are symbiotic. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I look at actors, and actors kind of have this job where you're not really supposed to know who they are as people, because you want to believe them when they play their character in a movie, but when you look at, and then you look at pop acts, and pop acts are performers. Other people write their stuff and it's really popular and it's fun and they dance well, they sing well, and the songs are really catchy and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a different thing as well. But then rock and roll is different. Rock, we're kind of, our job is to know who we are, know what we stand for, and really put it out there. And then you kind of identify with your musician. When you're in high school, it's like, okay, I want to dress like that band, or I want to hang out with people that listen to music like that band. And it kind of becomes, a culture or a tribe around you and your buddies. And I think that we have a voice. The Beatles proved this in the 60s, and so many other bands, Woodstock, when they stand up for something they believe in and they really put themselves out there, it can really matter. It's funny though, because when you look at Angels and Airwaves, the band that I'm doing right now, that is my priority. That is my main band. But people know me from Blink 182, obviously. But I stopped to do all the To the Stars stuff. But Angels and Airwaves has always been an art project that's wanted to communicate large themes of the human race and the infinite possibility of space. Because if space was truly infinite, then that means there's no end to what could be happening out there. And that always excited me. I always wanted to look up and notice that stuff. But I gotta be the only guy that used all these space themes and used all of this kind of dreaming up all this stuff that deals with, who we are, where we're going, and what else is out there. I gotta be the only guy that stopped that for a quick second and created a real aerospace company, and then put together a vehicle with this team to bring out the biggest space secret of all time, and then jump right back in and keep doing the space rock thing. It's kind of funny. At least I'm being me, yeah. I guess is the point, better for better or worse,
Yeah. Bowie didn't stop Ziggy Stardust and go launch a rocket company. So I think you are, you probably are the first one to do that.
But Bowie didn't need to, he was already a god, I guess.
That is true. Well, Tom, I want to say thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. I feel like I can talk to you for hours about what you're doing. It's really, really fascinating with To the Stars Academy, what you've accomplished so far. And I want to find out more about the tech that you're working on. I want to find out more about the music. We've got tothestarsacademy.com. So that's, I'm assuming, we're the best place for people to go to and follow along with what you're doing.
Yeah, tothestarsacademy.com. And just so people know, essentially what we're building, humbly say this because I don't have a better example at the moment, but it's like a Disney and a Lockheed Martin together. Can we make the things we're putting on film? But the science division in itself, though, is really meant to encourage, the world to come along and learn with us. Now, there's more, like we already have some sensitive defense contracts. There's going to be some classified stuff down the road. So not everything we do can be discussed, but the majority of it can be. And UFOs are not the only thing we do. We have big film franchises that deal with consciousness and dreams and so on. We have a lot of products that we're launching that can help with the pandemic. And so you're going to see, we just did something, I think it was yesterday, about, a truck that can lift up these big screens and help people in humanitarian crises and everything, and big LED screens and whatever that can be deployed to trouble hotspots. But, there's some other things we're launching in the next couple of weeks as well. And I think what people need to realize is, it's a real company. We're doing a lot of real stuff, but the heart and the soul and the North Star is understanding unidentified aerial objects. And the reason is you got to think about Elon Musk, or not Elon Musk. You got to think about like Sergey, however you say his name, with Google. I always use this analogy that he was, there when someone was creating the internet, and he was just like, okay, I see something here, and I think it's about search. And everyone's like, search? What are you thinking? What are you talking about? The internet's going to be big, and no one trusted it. Well, he was on the tip of a spear with a complete paradigm shift technology that was changing the world, that would change the world. Well, this is the same thing. Whether or not people want to believe it, it doesn't matter. The Navy admitted it was real. The Department of Defense admitted it was real. The videos came out. We have exotic material that we went under contract with the U.S. Army and other areas of the U.S. government. So if it's not the material evidence, if it's evidence, and it's not the videos, and if it's not the Navy and then the DoD all admitting it's real, people, they need to understand it's as real as the phone we use every day. It's coming. And they better brace themselves and get ready. But our company, To the Stars Academy, is meant to be at the tip of the spear when all this happens. And that could be a really, really big deal to grab all this stuff and understand it, exploit it, and be the first one in. And that's really what we're trying to do.
Wow. Well, it's incredible what you've done so far, and it's a lot to think about, too, with just what you said, being at the tip of the spear, what could be coming. And clearly, you're at the forefront of it and thought about this ahead of time. And Tom, thank you very much for joining us. I really, really mean that. I really appreciate you being here and what you're doing. And I want everybody to follow along with what you're doing and go to the website, follow along Angels and Airwaves. I know you've got your new music coming out, a new song that's out with the proceeds going to help benefit COVID-19. All of that happening. And Tom, thank you very much for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Hey, thank you for having me so much.
Appreciate it so much. Tom DeLonge, right here on Digital Trends Live. That was awesome. Could talk to him for hours about that stuff, but follow along there. I know we're running behind. We got to get going here. So we have coming up next, Riley Wynn, who's going to be joining us to talk about his experience clubbing in quarantine. So we're going to talk about that next. So stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hey, welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit the subscribe button, then you get to join in the conversations. You get to see everybody we get to talk to. You get to hear about the news we get to talk to every single day. But right now, let's talk about the fact that we're all at home. We can't go to bars. You can't go to clubs. But Riley Wynn figured out a way to do it virtually, and that's what he's going to be talking about right now, our own Riley. And he's going to join us here. I knew there'd be something like this. All right, Riley Wynn, hello. How are you doing, buddy? Tell us about what you did.
Yeah, what's up, Greg? So last week I went to a pretty stellar club. It was called Quarantine NYC. No physical location. It was a virtual club, so I maintained safe social distancing. But it was a blast. It was a blast. No line. That's the worst part about clubs is waiting in the line.
Yeah, right. No line. Yeah, definitely. So how did you hear about this? Like, how does it actually work to get into an online virtual club?
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. You don't need to have your name on the list or know anyone like a normal club. But I heard about it from a coworker, and they're like, "Hey, you should go and do a video." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." So essentially, I went to the Quarantine NYC Instagram. It's no longer up, by the way. So I don't know if they went out of business. I don't know how you can go out of business with a fake club. But originally, you go to their Instagram. You buy a ticket from like Eventbrite. It's like $25 when all the fees are said and done. And then to get into the club is kind of tricky. Like if you're not tech savvy, you're gonna have a hard time. So essentially, you take a screenshot of your ticket at like an hour before the event starts. You DM it to Quarantine NYC. Then you will have to go to Zoom. You wait in a waiting room in Zoom. You have to change your name to your Instagram handle, and then basically they let you in as you like send in your ticket. And you wait there for a little bit. Like, I guess you do wait in a line. Technically, you have this little waiting room in Zoom, which I didn't even know was a thing you could do.
So what are you getting with $25 for a Zoom meeting? Like, what is the club experience?
Basically getting chat roulette 2.0. But it's actually pretty fun.
Okay,
So
now I know why they were shut down.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, thankfully it did not look like chat roulette, if you catch my drift. It was really fun, surprisingly. So essentially I was dropped into this room, and there's a DJ. So they actually had a DJ. His name is DJ Reach. He has like 50,000 followers on Instagram. So I guess he's a pretty big deal. And there's a chat on the side. You click on the link in the chat, and it takes you to an internet radio station that's playing the music and the DJ PA system. Everyone's muted. We can't talk at all. There's just a chat bar on the side. And essentially, there's different dance floors. So there's dance floors like 1 through 8, and they would highlight different people on the dance floor. So it literally was just like they had a moderator, and he's like, "Oh, this person's getting down. I'm going to put them in the spotlight. This person's getting down. I'm going to put them in the spotlight." So that, I mean, it was really random. It was really fun though. Like, actually, it was really fun. I grabbed a box of wine, put on, my club attire, and just had fun with it. It was a good time.
So would you do it again? I guess that's kind of my question.
I would definitely do it again. I wouldn't pay for it. Like, it was through work, so I didn't have to pay for it, which was nice.
Yeah. Was it worth $25?
Yes. I think if you and like a couple friends went in and chipped on it, so it was only like $5 each, totally worth it. There's a lot of people. I thought it was gonna be like super strict, where like you weren't gonna be like, if they were gonna kick you out if there's other people in your thing, because they're trying to make money, obviously. But no, they didn't care. They were having a good time. The chat was lit. Not really. It was just me talking to people and no one responding, because I just kept going, "What's up? What's up? You guys from out of town?" Throwing the, Night at the Roxbury line. At one point too, because I was hitting up the chat, everyone thought I was the DJ for like a solid like 30 minutes. And so they were just DMing me requests. And I was like, "I'm not the DJ. Like, I know I look like a DJ, right?" But yeah, I was like, "No, I'm not the DJ, guys. Like, you gotta hit someone else up. You gotta hit up the DJ, the real DJ." But yeah, it's fun.
Well, Riley, is there
you should go with me next time.
Or any other kind of recap about this?
No, I mean, it's more fun than it sounds. So if you're really bored, and you want to, everyone's doing virtual happy hours with their friends, why not do it with strangers who are basically trying to one up each other? Yeah, you can see right here. It was basically just like, who can be the goofiest, who can be the craziest. I was dabbing left and right, just getting down. Oh, shotgunning too. I was slapping the bag.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was getting after it.
Nice.
I highly recommend it, Greg. Like, next time you come join me, we'll turn up at the virtual club.
All right. I'll get my sweater ready. I'll get my chains ready. I can do it. All right, Riley. As always, good to see you. Good to talk to you. So that is good to get a recap on that, because I had not heard what they are like. You're looking great, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Stay safe, man.
All right, Riley Wynn right there. He's not the DJ, though. Please do not DM him requests, or do if you want. All I do is win right there on Twitter. Just send him requests all day long. All right, coming up next, we have Ken Young, the technology editor for Flipboard. We're going to recap some of the big stories in tech from this week for Tech Briefs. That's coming up next. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. I appreciate everybody who's joining in. Wherever you are, we enjoy it. You want to hit that subscribe button because we bring you up to date with everything that's going on in technology. And it's now time to recap what has been happening this week because it's time for another edition of Tech Briefs, where I am joined by Ken Young, the technology editor for Flipboard, to talk about the big stories. Ken, always good to see you. Let's jump right into this here. So some big things happening this week that are going to affect a lot of us going forward. And to start off, let's talk about this Apple and Google partnership. We've known this has been going on for a while, that they've been working on an API, which essentially is the underlying tech for Android and iOS, to where they'd be able to communicate together, and using Bluetooth in this idea of contact tracing. Can you tell us a little bit more about the partnership and where we're at right now?
Right. So, in terms of understanding where this coronavirus pandemic is going, and as states start to try and reopen, as the world starts to kind of jumpstart their economies, there's a push for more testing and to practice social distancing. So, in terms of helping to figure out where these epicenters are happening, where potential hotspots are going to be, there's this protocol called contact tracing that scientists have been using, and so obviously with technology, there's a way to kind of really better understand understand these trends and to get this data. And so the employees at both Apple and Google specifically joined together in the early weeks of April to kind of really see, is there a way that they could use the operating systems to help these public health officials understand where this pandemic is being spread in the United States and abroad. And this is kind of pretty fascinating that this is started like early weeks of April. And within several weeks, now we have a beta public API that is accessible only to health officials for them to build apps that will be able to leverage the capabilities from within iOS and Android. Now, this is not going to be something that independent developers, like people from like whether it's Zoom or Facebook or someone from that's an entrepreneur can build off of. So this is going to be very what Apple and Google hope will promise say this is going to be very limited to just health officials. And using low energy Bluetooth, the premise is that as you are walking down the street, it'll detect in nearby phones who happen to have the owners have voluntarily said that they've come into contact with someone with coronavirus, or they themselves have been diagnosed with coronavirus, with COVID-19, then that information will be passed along to public health officials. So basically, this is supposedly anonymous. Yeah. Google and Apple have said they've beefed up their privacy concerns. Obviously, this is a big thing for people. The concern is not only privacy, but how can governments use this to track individuals? Is this going to get rid of our rights, our freedoms. So far, there's nothing that merits that case. I mean, this is just a public API right now, and we got a little bit ways to go. But there's a lot of other countries, a lot of governments, a lot of companies that are also experimenting with this. And as you start to get back to work, who knows whether your own employer will mandate that you voluntarily enroll in this, in contact tracing to protect them. IBM is using it within some of their offices. So could this actually be a bigger thing as opposed to a voluntary thing?
Right, and I think that's something that, that's why it's important for people to know about this, that this is happening right now. This partnership is going. Germany's actually announced that they're going to be going along with the Google and Apple one. They're still working out some of the details, but you could definitely see when it comes down to local governments, will they adopt it and work on it, and then will people download it and use it? And I think that big thing there that I've talked to people about too is just security. Nobody trusts anybody. I would think actually with Google and Apple both being involved, extreme competitors probably holding each other accountable. I think that's a good thing when it comes to security, because neither one of them is going to want to mess that up, because the other one will just pounce on them, I would think. But yeah, that's the whole other issue too. So as it rolls out, as things develop really quickly, and this has developed very quickly, we'll have to see what happens. 2 weeks from now, this could be something that's rolling out to local governments where we have the apps available to download, and it's possible. And so we'll have to see where it all goes. But yeah, definitely interesting when it comes to this. And we've got all kinds of information about it. And I think, if you can go into it a lot deeper if people want to. But that's, I think, a really important thing for people to know, and that development of just these two rivals coming together. That's a big deal, and it's a big deal on how we can do that. Let's go on to a different thing here, too. We've got another thing to talk about. We've got two things that are big this week that we want to let everybody know about. And there's so much information to try to pack into about 10 minutes, or 10-minute-y, as we coined it before. Let's talk about Facebook right now with an announcement that they have made. And this is something that's been available elsewhere, but now rolling into North America, and something that's available as of this week. And it's part of their data transfer project. Now, this is the idea of, for a lot of people, it's owning your own data. So your data that you submit onto, say, Facebook, all that stuff that you've uploaded, all this stuff that's in there, is that yours, or does that belong to them? And that's kind of this concept. And this is something that Facebook announced, that they're going to now allow you to upload your Facebook photos to another platform like Google Photos. That's something that hasn't been easily done before. And a lot of it is Facebook essentially trying to avoid some maybe potential judgments against them, some different rulings that could come forth. And so it's them saying, hey, no, this is your data. It's always been your data. Now you can go ahead and take it somewhere else. Yeah, that's fine. And so, but that's what it is. It's going to allow people to upload their photos onto Google. I think it's an interesting development. They did say that going forward, eventually you're going to be able to take your contacts off of there and be able to take this information that they're saying is yours and plug it in wherever you want. And I think that's a push that a lot of companies are going to be forced into making.
Right, and I think for a long time, for many years, Facebook has kind of really been this walled garden, right? You put stuff into Facebook, into the big blue app, and you in order to move it onto some other site, whether it's Flickr or Google Photos or anything else, you had to re-upload it. So there was no real way to do that. And you're right. I think you hinted at it earlier. It's a regulatory play. As we're with the pandemic, 2020 has basically stalled any antitrust investigations that Congress or regulators may have looked at in terms of Facebook. But it's still lingering like the sword of Damocles over Facebook. And this is kind of this could be a way to kind of really assuage it and tell regulators, look, we're not holding on to things. And I think this is also can be related to Mark Zuckerberg's whole push. I believe it was early 2019 where he was saying, look, we're moving things we're more about privacy now. We're more about protecting your individual data as opposed to kind of really pushing everything out into public. But this is also, it's important to note that this data portability project that Facebook is part of they've voluntarily entered it into this kind of group that is also founded with members of Apple, Microsoft, Twitter, and Google. So this is a data transfer conglomerate that you have, and this is certainly a good thing for people to say, look, we don't want to have our information stored on Facebook. This does not include Instagram. This does not include WhatsApp. This does not include Facebook Messenger so far. But of course, WhatsApp already has that data backup that you can push to Google Drive. Instagram, we'll see. But of course, with Facebook having like 2.5 plus billion monthly active users, I mean, there's a lot of data on Facebook, the Big Blue app, versus Instagram. So, obviously, there's a big to be able to download all your photos from Facebook and move it right into there. Because you figure, I'm just going to throw albums of photos onto Facebook. You're not necessarily going to do that on Instagram. So whether or not that also includes, photos that, Greg, I tag you in a photo. Could you take that and extract that and put it into Google Photos? I don't know, but at least right now it is your individual photos, your individual videos. So then you get into more copywriting issues and blah, 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 and everything like that. But I think this is a good step forward. And again, one other thing to note, this is not the first data portability tool that Facebook has. They have their download your information. Of course, that came out in light of criticism that was levied against the company way back in the day.
Yeah, true. I mean, we'll have to see where this goes, but I think it's the first step in a road, and they did say that there's more coming when it comes to this, but definitely in response to some of the different regulations that are going on, in Europe and California when it comes to data privacy. We'll have to see where that happens. But something that I think people should be aware of, there's a lot to follow up on with that everybody can do, of course, at Flipboard or Digital Trends. And also, this is a podcast. So not only the video that you're watching right now, we have an audio version that comes out every week. So wherever you get podcasts, go find Tech Briefs and hit subscribe. Listen to Ken and I. We'll help you out. Ken, as always, thank you so much for joining us. I'll talk to you next week.
See you next week, Greg.
All right, Ken Young right there from Flipboard. Okay, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for watching this show. Whatever platform you're watching on, hit subscribe. And we are on a lot of them, and so we do appreciate everybody who's joining us here. And so let's tell you this. I want to recap just a little bit of this week about what we've had here on just this week alone. I know time has no meaning anymore, but this week we've had Kevin Alejandro on the show. We had Joseph Gordon-Levitt here on this show. I mean, that feels like it was months ago. That was on Monday. We had Brian Barczyk talking to him. We had so many people here that have joined us this week. Bob Saget was yesterday. Bob was here on the show with us yesterday. Today, we had Greg Daniels, and we had Tom DeLonge. That's just on this week, and that so much more. All of our editors and all of our other guests, too, talking about everything that's going on in the world of technology. It's a lot of fun with this show. That's why you want to hit that subscribe button. Taking a look here really quick, I think we do have something to talk about for this coming week. Oh, let's see. We've got Yasso, who's a streamer who's going to be joining us, will be on the show. We've got Pia Toscano, who's going to be on the show, Miss Harvey and Kelly Link. We've got Drew for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. I'm saying this right now because that's the thing. Things happen fast right now, and we want to be here for you throughout all of that. And that's why I say thank you to everybody who joins us. It takes a lot of work to put this together, and we do appreciate everybody who enjoys it and shares the show. And huge thank you to the Digital Trends Live team. They're incredible, and we're doing some really great things here, so I want to thank all of them, Mike, Kelsey, Jake, Matt, Jess, of course, and Mike and Lara in New York, and I'm here out of my basement. That's where we are. That's where we are right now. So that's what we do, though, every single weekday for you. So that's enough. I know. I'm done talking. Thanks, everybody. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll be back here on Monday with another edition of Digital Trends Live.